back for season 2, episode 2, Thumb Strong podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about mindset and how the words we use impact our reality in life. Bethany, I'm going to let you kick this off, and we're going to talk about mindset and the words we use and how we can improve them to change our reality and live a better life.
So, the power of our words in shaping our reality, the way you can think about this is words are spells. And not in like the hocus pocus spells you think of, but a spell, the definition, is a word or combination of words of great power and influence. And so what we say to ourselves or about the world around us shapes how we then view ourselves and everything else around us too. So it shapes our thoughts, emotions, and ultimately our identity. Because if our thoughts are changed, then the stories we tell ourselves are changed, then our identity is changed. And so if you want to change what your identity is, whether it's to be a fitter and healthier version of yourself or maybe just a better version of yourself, to change your identity, you have to start with your thoughts. And what's your thoughts made of? Your words. So you got to change your words to change your thoughts. So there's a few different types of words that we use. The first one we'll talk about, which we've talked about in the past, is soft talk versus solid talk. And to recap that soft talk, it is words such as maybe, kinda, I think, I'll try, probably, should, could. There's a bunch of other ones too. It creates uncertainty, indecision, and it softens whatever you just said. So if you say, like the example last week, yeah, I probably should start eating better. That's two of them right there. And saying, I probably should. Saying the word should is like, yeah, I should do that, and I know I should, but I'm probably not going to. You're already putting that out there as a spell that you're not going to do it. And so when you say it with that type of intention, you're just most likely not going to carry through with what you say. Or if you say, I'm going to start eating better this year. I'm going to start eating healthier. Then it gets you focused on action, right? It's like, I'm going to do this. It's like, okay, well then how am I going to do this, right? So then it's focused on action instead of just saying something that doesn't have any weight behind it. Your words become more meaningful. So For you guys, we've talked about soft talk before and becoming more aware of it and stuff like that. So what have both of you noticed since we started doing that? Probably a few months ago was when we started. So what have you guys noticed with that?
I actually have a question real quick.
Yes, what's your question?
Have they talked about in the class at all, like those people that don't necessarily use soft talk, but they'll be like really confident with themselves and they still don't do it? Like they're like good at talking, but they don't go through with what they say ever. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I'm gonna do this. Like, don't worry, man. I'm gonna do that. I get like I'm gonna get myself on track. Like I'm gonna work my butt off. You know what I mean? Did they ever talk about that at all?
They haven't talked about that specifically.
Okay. I think that's probably a different piece of.
That's a piece.
It's like less language and more.
That's not the language problem at that point. Yeah. That would be an execution problem. So there's something that's holding them back from doing what they're going to say.
Yeah.
Or doing what they say they're going to do.
Or maybe those words don't have the same effect on them as they.
Yeah.
They're not aware of it as much.
Because maybe they're using it because they said it so many times and they broke that promise to themselves so many times, they don't believe what they say anymore.
Yeah, that could be.
So
that's possible. I know, like, I can think of people that a few that, like, they say a lot of stuff that they don't necessarily do. It might be just a way to make themselves feel better when they're talking to other people. Kind of like what you said, you almost don't believe the words that you say anymore because you don't follow through. You broke your promise to yourself so many times.
Yeah. And it could be a different version of something else that's coming through as well. something that's happened in the past or some part of their identity where they feel like they need to overcompensate by saying, yeah, I'm going to do all these things, and or I do this, and this, I eat perfectly, and then all of a sudden, like, nothing's happening, right? And so it's like, okay, there's something underlying that's going on. It's not the language they're using, it's maybe how they're using it, or it's what are they not telling you?
Yeah.
Are they telling you what they think you want to hear, or is that actually what's going on in their head?
Right.
You know,
Could be two different things.
It's two different things.
Yep.
So only you personally know what the truth is,
Right.
or maybe you don't know what a truth is. You know, you could just be viewing it differently depending on the words that you're using. So that is a good question, though.
So all of this is internal for everybody to think about their own thoughts. It's not the ability to talk to somebody and know what they're thinking, you know, because only you know
I
what
get
you're
on
thinking.
telepathy.
So, yeah.
That
So-
makes stuff a lot easier sometimes with coaching.
Yeah.
But that's not how it works.
So I know right away when she brought up soft talk, you had said something right after that, and you had used it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh wow, like it stuck right out.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. There are, yeah, like when we first started.
Mhm.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
You notice it quite
Yeah.
frequently.
So that was what I noticed too. Is like you just notice yourself using it a little bit, and then once you notice it, then you can start to make small corrections. I would say, like for people listening, or if you were going to put this into practice, you would need to remind yourself, like probably daily. You need to remind yourself, daily of the words. And so that it's like fresh on the mind, because after a little while you forget about it in a way. Like I just used it, but since we're talking about it, boom, it stuck out to me.
Yes.
So you'd have to like remind yourself of those most common soft talk words.
Yes.
And that way they stick out, and then you can just make changes.
Which there's a list online that you could just print out.
Yeah.
And what you would want to do is hang it up. It's a 7-day challenge. You hang it up for 7 days and somewhere that you're going to see every day or multiple times a day. The more you can see it, the better. Because then the more you see those words, the more they start to stand out to you in texts or emails or just in conversation or in your own thoughts. Your thoughts are a little bit harder just because they can go by a little bit faster, or it's not as easy to notice. Sometimes it's easier to visually see it and then to audibly, so to hear it. But then when you're thinking about those words, that's usually the third step. Usually it's you notice it in writing first, and you're like, oh shoot, that's a soft talk word. I should edit that out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to, okay, somebody's talking to me and they're using all these soft talk words, or I'm going to go and say something to them of like, yeah, I probably should do that too. Instead of just like, oh, that's two of them right there. And it's like, no, I can do that too. It's way different. It sounds way more confident when you talk to people.
Yeah.
It's like if you tried selling somebody, or like if you were a salesman and you tried selling somebody on a car, and it's like, yeah, that'd probably be a good car for you. Do you think you might want to buy it?
Yeah.
You're not going to sell very many cars, are you?
No.
You got to have conviction and
And to use
remove the
right
soft
language,
talk.
too. Yeah. So that's a good example of that.
A fun game. Honestly, it's kind of fun. Like now that we're talking about it, just try, like a good exercise could be to listen to other people and see how often people use it.
Yeah.
Because then you'll get better at recognizing it, and then I'm sure you'll recognize it yourself when you use it.
Oh, you'll hear it a lot.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
The next one is negations and what their mental impact is. Negations are things like I can't, I don't want to, or I shouldn't. It's focusing the mind on what you don't want rather than what you do want. So we've talked about this before, and instead of focusing on what to take out from your diet or what you want to stop doing, you want to focus on what you want to start doing or add in. And this is why the mind struggles to process emotions or negations effectively. And so it often creates mental images of the very thing you're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
So if I say, don't think of a purple elephant, you
It
probably just had
immediately
an
pops in.
image of a purple elephant up there.
Or if you say, I'm going to cut out all sweets, or like I'm not going to eat donuts or whatever, that's
Yeah.
probably going to pop in your
Where's my
head.
sweets?
Then you're going to want it more.
and somebody's like, "Oh, hey, do you want this pizza?" And you're like, "No, I can't have that. I shouldn't have that." And then it's like, that's all you're thinking of, right? Like, people could or should be able to relate with. There's a food that they're like, okay, there's Oreos in the house, and it feels like they're calling their name, right? They're working on eating better, or there's the bag of chips, something's calling their name that's in the house if they know about it. And all day you're thinking like, I can't have the Oreos, I can't have the Oreos, I can't have the Oreos, right?
Yeah.
And that's all you're thinking about until it hits late at night or a stressful day, and you're like, I'm gonna have the Oreos.
You're making it pretty hard on yourself.
Right, because you're focusing on it so much. And if it's not there, it makes it easier. But two, if you're focusing on the good things, then you'll obviously more likely do more good things.
So like instead of, hey, I'm going to cut out all sweets and snacks and cookies and stuff like that, it's like, no, I'm going to add in more fruit. I'm going to eat more bananas, apples, because you're still getting sugar. Technically, you're still getting sweets. It's just much, much healthier for you. More vitamins, minerals, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, give you some real energy.
you're adding in. I always like to say, like, if for people that want to cut out pop, like I'm going to quit drinking pop. Normally, I'll just say, hey, that's a great goal. Like, eventually, hopefully, we can get you off of drinking pop, but let's focus on adding in more water, because if you start with water and you add in more water, you're physically not going to be able to drink the same amount of pop.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't add in 64 ounces of water and drink 12 sodas at the same, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a lot.
So you're naturally going to end up eating away. But if you focus on not drinking pop, like you were saying, you're going to think about it all day, and you're going to want it. Whereas if you just start with water and focus on drinking more water, even if at first you have a couple of pops still, it's going to go down. That number is going to eventually just creep down until you're off of it. So,
cool quote just popped in my head that I heard the other day on a podcast with Mel Gibson, actually. And he said, your first thought means nothing. Your second thought and your action means everything inside your head. So your first thought a lot of times is, can be negative, intrusive, doesn't steer you towards your goals. There's so many different, we have millions of thoughts a day, so it can go so many different ways. But the thought that you have after that, after your brain receives that, and then you comprehend it and decode it and all that, and then the action that you take after that means everything. So I think, I don't know, that kind of shifted my mindset on like how we can alter our thoughts, and not alter them, but
rewrite the story.
Yeah, exactly. So we can change that. We have the power to change that.
Yeah. So on the thoughts part, like, there's 70,000 thoughts that people have a day or something crazy like that.
Oh, it's not a million.
I mean, I don't know. The number that I heard was like 7,000.
I just completely threw that number out there. I have no idea.
Yeah, as far as
it's not pure.
What I remember was thinking about like 70,000, which mine could be off too. But
yeah,
a million's kind of a lot for one day. Or it is a lot for one day.
Depends how active your brain is.
Yes. Yeah. And so on that, if you're having a lot of negative thoughts, especially people they're depressed or they have anxiety or stress, a majority of their thoughts throughout the day are going to be negative. And so if you've got 90% negative thoughts and 10% positive, it would make it hard to do the things that you want to do or change things.
Oh, yeah.
Because if it's 90% negative, right? And so then if you end up changing of like, oh, I can't do this, or I don't want to be like this, or I don't, saying things like that, or once you change the way you say things, then your thoughts will start to be changed as well. So you can change your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So your thoughts aren't not all your thoughts are true as well. We talked about intrusive thoughts the other week too.
Yes.
Like, what if I just swerved my car off this bridge?
Yeah.
Or whatever, things like that. It's like, where did that come? Like, where does those come from? And so it allows you to think of your thoughts as not something that's necessarily you all the time. or not
They're
always
not
something you
either.
want.
It's not like
Yeah.
your inner self really wants to jump this car over
Right.
that cool snow hill right there. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Weird things like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And thinking of it in a way of, all right, there's two selves inside of you. There's some Native Americans, they'll say there's one wolf, and then there's two wolves inside of you. That's one of them. Or there's like the devil on your shoulder, and then there's a little angel on your other one that are whispering thoughts in your ears, right? So instead of having the little devil talking 80% of the time in your ear, all these negative things,
Mhm.
and like the angel always saying like little good things every now and again, it's like, okay, how do you turn down the volume and the little devil and the amount that it talks, and then how do you turn up the volume on the good one? And that's where
Yeah.
changing the mindset, changing the identity, changing the words you use, that's where that comes in.
Yeah.
To change that.
I think the story or the analogy with that is like there's a white wolf and a black wolf battling all the time. Which one wins?
Yeah,
The one that you feed. And your thoughts are what that is feeding. So if you're feeding that black wolf or bad wolf, whatever, that's the one that's going to win in the end.
Yeah.
And comprehend and basically take over your mind and influence your actions, impact your reality.
Yes. Yeah, the one that you feed. Yeah, that was I can remember the whole thing.
Yep.
So thank you for that.
Just fun fact I looked up. It's about 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day, 2,500 to 3,000 thoughts in an hour, 40 to 50 thoughts in a minute. 80% of them are negative on average, and 95% are repetitive. So this just emphasizes the importance of mindfulness and positive thinking to break out of unhelpful thought patterns. So pretty crazy.
That is wild. Okay, so my 80 to 90%.
Yeah, you were very accurate.
Wow.
I was pretty
So
close.
smart.
It's pretty close to my
From
million.
feeding your brain
Pretty close
with
to a
good
million for
stuff.
70,000. Yeah.
Yeah, you are super close to a million. You might have a million, Norm. You don't know what's
Maybe
going on.
my
out there.
brain is
Yeah, we
just-
don't know.
on steroids.
Yeah, that's 80% of your thoughts are negative.
That's crazy.
Typically.
Well, here's another great thing. Like, it relates to what we're talking about and what you just said, first thought, second thought. So, like, at first thought today, people are like, oh my God, it's such a crappy day. It's so I hate winter. It's cold, it's snowing. Oh my God, I hate this. And then you're like, people are saying that, but you look outside and what do we see? Like, we see the beautiful snow. Like, there are literally millions of people that never get to see snow.
Yeah.
And how many people, like kids from Florida, if they ever come and take a trip up here, they're just going bonkers because they've never seen snow and they want to build a snowman and have snowball fights. It's like literally a dream come true for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yet our first initial thought is cold, wet,
bad roads.
Can't drive 10 mile an hour faster than you want to.
Yeah.
It's like, it is what it is. First of all, it's out of our control.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't let it impact the way we feel and how we think. And we shouldn't let it impact our life because it's out of our control. But you got to look at the positives as well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That's the second thought.
That's the second thought. You got to rethink.
And then your action.
Go out and play in the snow.
Go
sledding.
Yeah.
Go sledding with your kids. Throw a snowball.
Yeah.
Make a snowman.
Or, it's probably going to snow. I better leave the house 5 minutes early. So instead of getting mad about it and let it ruin your day, plan ahead.
Yeah. If you're from Michigan, make sure you say too.
Let me start the car early. All right. Next one is projections, which is you're shifting responsibility onto something external. So the language that projects the blame or responsibility is they make me feel blank, or I have to blank. Another example is this makes me feel blank. So this snowy weather outside makes me feel depressed. So then anytime, you just identified, anytime there's snowy weather, you're going to feel depressed. So every time it snows, you're going to feel sad. It's like, you don't want that.
It's not a good connection to have.
No. And it also strips you of personal power. So instead of taking responsibility or ownership of it, you're putting it on something else. So that whatever you point, this was a Alex Hormozy thing, wherever you point the finger, you like
Give
give
the
the
power
power
to.
to. That's what it is. Yeah. So if
Yep.
I point at DeLorean and I'm like, I'm late today because of DeLorean.
What did I do?
Yeah, it's like I'm putting all the responsibility on him. I'm not
Yeah.
taking any for myself.
Yeah.
Or it's like, oh yeah, I'm late today because of the roads. And it's like, the roads made me late. Or the weather made me late. And it's like, no, I made myself late because I didn't leave 15 minutes early. Since
Yeah.
I have a weather app that tells me that there's going to snow the next day. So I can take more responsibility and more ownership of that. Same thing in relationships too. This is a huge one for that. And, instead of saying, you made me feel sad when you did this, or you did this and that made me feel like this, saying you, that's putting all this blame and it's almost attacking the other person. Even if you say it in a nice way or work on it, it's still different. Instead, if you say, I feel frustrated when this happens. I feel frustrated when the garbage isn't taken out on time. Can you help me with that? If your significant other or spouse comes up to you and says that, instead of, you make me feel so frustrated when you don't take the trash out. Like, how does that make you feel? It feels awful if somebody says that to you. I'm just like, oh shit, like I feel like a piece of garbage. I should go out with the trash then. And then you get into a fight and then that's no good, right?
Yep.
So instead of just saying, hey, I feel frustrated when this happens, can you help me out with that? Or can we figure out a way, taking it more of on a we, an I, and we, instead of
Yep.
saying you.
Yep.
That's what I would say. Replace the yous with I or we.
Yep.
Or saying like, instead of I have to, I choose to. It was like, oh yeah, I have to go get my workout in. It's like, no, I'm choosing to go get my workout in. Because you might not always want to, but you can say that I'm choosing to.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're choosing to feed that good wolf or that better
Yeah.
version of yourself. There's like, what's the guy's name? Ethan Suplee. And
Yep.
he said he has to kill the old version of himself every day that was very overweight and out of shape. And he's like, I got to kill that version of me every day by choosing to do what the better version of me wants. So it's like, there's the best version of you and the worst version of you inside. And it's like, you want to make the choices. Like, unless you want to be the worst version of yourself, go ahead, listen to that one. But you can choose every choice that you make throughout the day. You can choose to be that best version of yourself.
Yep.
I need to start listening to my best version more and do the dishes.
You need to?
Yeah,
Or are you going to choose to?
I'm gonna. Yeah, I don't know yet.
You don't know yet. All right, that's
Yeah.
fine. The next are identity statements. So anything starting with I am. It's incredibly powerful because it reinforces your identity. I hear people say a lot of time, I am a stress eater. I am
A smoker.
a smoker. Or I'm a foodie. I don't know, something else.
Procrastinator.
I'm a procrastinator. That's a good one. Things like that. It's reinforcing it. We're saying, I am this. I am this way. And it sounds very solid. Of like, this is unchanging. This is just how I am. Right? And people say that too. It's like, that's just the way I am. And it gives no sort of flexibility or growth potential if you want to change that. Because if you say, yeah, this is just how I am. And you're like, all right, then there's nothing you can do to change that, right? Which, what you want to do is flip that if it's something negative. So instead of saying, I'm a procrastinator, say, I'm learning to get things done ahead of time. Or I'm working on getting things done ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, instead of, I am a stress eater, say, I'm working on handling my emotions better. Something like that. Or instead of like saying, I am a boredom eater. That's another one. I'm a boredom eater. Saying, I'm we're learning to use food as fuel and not eat on board, that type of thing. So somewhere in there, or I'm out of shape. You say, oh, I am uncoordinated. I'm out of shape. Saying, I am
I am overweight.
I am working on getting in shape. I am working on my health and my fitness. I'm working on becoming more coordinated. Things like that. The next part is
I got a couple minutes. You guys
Okay.
could always keep going.
all right. Yep. This is like a wrap up kind of.
Okay.
So the last two parts is all right. How do we start to become more aware of this, and how do you start reworking it? Is breath and writing things down. So when you write stuff down on a piece of paper, like you said, you think about your thoughts a lot. You know the saying, "My thoughts are racing." My racing
Yes.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Does anybody ever say I have crawling thoughts?
No,
Like slow
never heard it
thoughts?
before. No.
Right. So when your thoughts are racing, or it's like, man, my brain's going a mile a minute, and there's a million things popping in there before you go to bed. It's like the fastest way to slow it down is to write it down. So every thought that you're having, you can't write as fast as you can think. So it forces you to slow down, look at the words that you're using, and then you can say, oh, shoot, I'm using soft talk, I'm using negations, I'm projecting onto people. You're starting to poke out these things. And once you're noticing that by writing it down, you can then work on changing it. You can rewrite it. And so that's powerful.
Yeah.
You're going to remember more when you write it down. And it's going to rewire your brain faster instead of just thinking about it. If you write it down, it's going to be way more powerful. And then breathing. Making sure that if you get into a stressful situation, or if some sort of memory or these racing thoughts are coming and you're starting to get like your breath is getting trapped in your chest. And that means the story is getting trapped. These negative self-talk is overwhelming you. So it's stressful, it's an anxiety, it's like a panic attacks are from breathing, right? It's that hyperventilation. So how you do that, you take shoulders down and you got to breathe through your belly. So you breathe, like put your hand on your stomach and feel yourself inhale, exhale from your diaphragm. And that helps to reset the vagus nerve and helps reset your brain and reduce stress. So if you do that versus
I'm doing it right now.
like chest breathing,
Your shoulders aren't
your
back
shoulders
and
go
down?
up like this.
There?
As long
I
as your
think they
shoulders
are.
aren't going like
Yeah.
when you're breathing, when you're doing that, then that's okay. You're starting to get it trapped high and tight in your chest. So if you breathe low in your body and slow, and really let the exhale out, you're going to feel more calm. You're going to see things clearer, especially as you're writing things down.
Maybe that's why my shoulders hurt. I hold
That
too
could
much
be.
stress up
Yeah,
there.
like people get
Oh,
stressed
yeah.
out, like their shoulders start to hurt. And
They
they're
tense
like
up?
this. Yeah, they
Yeah.
get so tense. So, final thought to recap. Language is both a mirror and a steering wheel. It reflects how we see ourselves and it directs where we're going.
Wow.
And so by changing our words, we can change our reality and how we view the world
Very good.
and ourselves. If you want to view yourself in a better light, work on your self-talk, work on the words you use.
I like that. That's good.
Love it. Good stuff. Great
Cool.
job. This is Bethany's forte.
It
The
is.
Enlifted program. If you need
Cup
help,
of tea.
she's available.
That's right.
Mindset coaching.
It's fun stuff. It's simple, but it's not always easy.
Yeah, it's practical. It's simple.
Yeah.
It's actionable ways to improve your mindset, which is cool because a lot of times it's tricky and tough to
They
figure
didn't
out.
make it seem complex.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
So I think that's it for today, right?
Renee,
All right. Hopefully this was beneficial and helpful for you guys. I guess action would be to I can maybe throw in the comments like the soft talk word list.
Yep, print that out.
Print it out. I would start looking at that, just kind of picking it out, maybe listen for it when you talk and when you're talking to somebody else. That way you can become more aware of it. And then also to start writing things down. I think that's huge, even just for stress relief, sleeping better at night. Like when you get your thoughts down on paper, it just makes everything easier in life, especially if your thoughts are racing or if you're stressed. A lot of people, they lay in bed thinking about all the things they need to do the next day. So that's just a really good strategy, I think. So take that action, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Make sure you like and subscribe and share it with a friend or a family member. That way we can reach more people. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.